Give up the master bedroom to my wife or get out." My son's words echoed through the house I had spent 32 years building. I stood in the hallway, staring at him as if I were looking at a stranger. His wife, Vanessa, stood behind him with her arms crossed. She looked completely comfortable, as though she already owned the place. "This is my house," I said quietly. My son Daniel laughed bitterly. "Not anymore, Dad. I'm married now. Vanessa deserves the master bedroom. You can take the guest room." I looked toward the bedroom at the end of the hallway. That room had belonged to my late wife, Margaret, and me since the day we moved into the house. Every photograph of our marriage, every Christmas morning, every difficult night after her illness had happened behind that door. After Margaret passed away, I couldn't bring myself to change anything. Daniel knew that he also knew how much the room meant to me. Yet he stood there demanding it. Vanessa stepped forward honestly. "Mr. Carter, you're being unreasonable. We're a married couple. We need privacy." I stared at her. "You've lived here for 3 months and you've lived alone for years." She replied, "It's time to accept that things have changed." I felt something break inside me. Not anger, but disappointment. I had raised Daniel alone after Margaret died. I had worked 2 jobs so he could attend college. I had paid his tuition, helped him buy his first car, and even gave him money for the wedding. When he told me he wanted to move back home, temporarily after getting married, I welcomed him. I thought we were becoming a family again. Instead, he slowly began treating me like an unwanted tenant. First, Vanessa complained about my television being too loud. Then she complained about my cooking. Then she decided certain parts of the kitchen were hers. I ignored it all. I kept telling myself that newlyweds needed time to adjust. But that night, Daniel crossed the line. "Give us the master bedroom," he repeated, "or get out." I looked at my son for several seconds. Then I nodded all right. Vanessa smiled. Daniel seemed relieved. Neither of them noticed the small smile on my face. The next morning I woke up early. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened the folder I had kept locked in my desk for years. Inside was the deed to the house. The house was completely paid off. There was no mortgage, no debt, and most importantly, the house was legally mine. I called my attorney, John. "I think I'm ready to sell." There was silence on the other end. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more certain." That afternoon, I contacted a real estate agent. By evening, a photographer had taken pictures of the property. I didn't tell Daniel, I didn't tell Vanessa. For the next few days, I acted normally. Daniel assumed I had surrendered. Vanessa began planning how she would decorate the master bedroom. She ordered new curtains. She even told me she wanted to remove Margaret's old photographs. That was the moment I knew I had made the right decision. One evening, Vanessa walked into the living room carrying a stack of boxes. "We're moving our things into your bedroom tomorrow." I looked at her. "No, you're not," she frowned. "What, I sold the house?" The room became completely silent. Daniel slowly lowered his phone. "You what? I sold the house." "You can't do that," I smiled. "Actually, I can. It's mine." Daniel rushed toward me. "Dad, you were supposed to give us the house." "No," I replied. "I was supposed to give you a place to stay temporarily. You turned that kindness into entitlement." Vanessa began shouting, "Where are we supposed to go?" I shrugged. "That's something you'll need to figure out." Daniel stared at me with disbelief. "You're kicking your own son out." "No, you ordered your father to get out of his own home." "I'm simply accepting your order." His face went pale. The closing date was only 10 days away. Daniel begged me to cancel the sale. He promised everything would change. Vanessa apologized. She even said she had been stressed. But I had heard enough promises. For 30 years, I had confused love with sacrifice. I thought being a good father meant constantly giving. I finally realized something important. Sometimes people don't appreciate your kindness. They simply become accustomed to it. The day we signed the final papers, I stood outside the house one last time. I touched the front door and remembered Margaret. I whispered, "I'm finally letting go." Then I walked away with the money from the sale. I bought a smaller home near the lake. It wasn't nearly as large, but it was peaceful, no arguments. No demands, no one telling me which room I deserved. 2 weeks later, Daniel came to see me. He looked exhausted, Dad. He said Vanessa left. I didn't respond. She said she couldn't live with me anymore because I didn't have the lifestyle she expected. I looked at my son. I'm sorry. He sat down. I lost everything. I shook my head. No, Daniel. You lost a house. You still have a father. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. Do you hate me? I took a deep breath. No. Then why did you sell the house? Because I love you enough to stop allowing you to become someone I couldn't recognize. He cried for the first time in years. I saw the little boy who used to run into my arms after school. I was wrong, Dad. I know I thought because you were my father, you would always give me whatever I wanted. I know. He wiped his face. Can I come back? I looked out at the lake. You can visit any time, but you're not moving in. He nodded slowly, and that was the beginning of something neither of us expected. Daniel got a job. He rented a small apartment. He started paying his own bills. Months passed. Our relationship slowly improved. One Sunday afternoon, he came to my new house carrying an old wooden box. I found this while cleaning my things. He said inside were photographs of Margaret, Daniel as a child, and our family Christmases. He handed me one photograph. It showed Margaret standing in the master bedroom, smiling while holding a young Daniel. I stared at it for a long time. I'm sorry I tried to take this room from you, he whispered. I smiled. It's okay, no, Dad. It isn't. He paused. I understand now that wasn't just a bedroom. That was Mom's memory. I nodded and I treated it like a piece of furniture. I placed my hand on his shoulder. You finally understand. Daniel looked around my new house. You seem happier. Here I am. He smiled. Then maybe selling the house was the best thing you ever did. I laughed. It wasn't revenge, son. He looked at me. What was it? Boundaries. That word stayed with him. Years later, Daniel told me that losing the house had been the greatest lesson of his life. He learned family isn't measured by what you can take from someone. It's measured by what you're willing to give without demanding more. And I learned something too. A parent can love their child deeply without allowing that child to disrespect them. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't shouting. It isn't punishment. It isn't making someone suffer. Sometimes the strongest revenge is simply walking away, protecting your peace, and refusing to let anyone make you feel like a stranger. In your own life, my son had once looked me in the eyes and said, give up the master bedroom or get out. So I sold the house, but in the end, I didn't lose my family. I lost the version of my son who believed my love had no limits, and I gained something far more valuable. My dignity, my peace, and eventually my son's respect.